Hi.
Woo! Welcome to our first live stream, right? Our first one that we've done ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to get it on
Yeah.
the X, don't we? But we're sorting that out. But we're joined today by the lovely Karen, Grateful Heart, and she's on X, and she's also got gratefulheart.com. And she's come to chat with us today about all things miracles, gratitude, and navigating we're navigating, Kirsten.
We're navigating this fuck show that we call reality. And we're going to talk about how to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's getting chaotic, isn't it? It's been crazy, especially, I don't know about y'all out there, but these past couple of weeks have just been insane, like energetically, and all of the shifts that are going on. And I'm not even talking about what's going on in the broader world. I'm talking about what's going on just in our personal lives and within ourselves. So yeah. So shall we start it off talking about miracles? It's a miracle.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big topic, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, just to give a bit of overview of where we got the idea from. So you might have seen as we went on Stephen BG Cast podcast, or I did with Diana. We've done a few. Me and Kirsten did one with Diana about Course in Miracles, and it's kind of something that we've been integrating and looking at. And we've both kind of been touched by it, haven't we, in different ways? And everybody that's kind of that I've spoken to about it has been touched by it in different ways. And I feel like when you start it, you're kind of called to it, and it opens up things in our lives. It kind of like removes blocks, and it's almost like it's bringing, I'm going to say God, but however you want to see the divine source consciousness, whatever you want to call that, that force that is the universal love. That's kind of, it's like infusing it into your life. You're inviting it in, basically, because it's like a doorway to walk through, to say, oh, I'm committed, I'm open, this is what I want to invite in. And we've all kind of had miraculous things happen to us. I'd like to just kind of, before we start and dig into what's Karen, I'd like to just kind of talk about something that I had happen to me on Tuesday. So obviously we've been doing the Course in Miracles on the Wednesday, and we've done a bit with Diana on the Friday, and on the Saturday, I used some entheogens and on a bit of a deep dive, and had kind of a heart activation, and was integrating that. And on Tuesday, it kind of released, and I kind of had this merging with that universal consciousness, and had kind of a period of a few hours, maybe 3 or 4, where I was tapped into the we call it the stream of universal consciousness. And it was really funny because I was taking the kids to school and it was just like my crown had opened, and then in came all this stuff, and I kind of like shooed them out the car and went, have a great day. And then I was like, whoa. And I kind of had these realizations, and all the things that I'd learned in my life, all the lessons and everything else, had kind of come full circle, and it all fitted together. And it was like God was streaming through me, or whatever you want to call it. And it was giving me all the information. I've had downloads and I've had a Kundalini experience and all the rest of it, but this was something completely different. This was so aligned with who I was as a soul spark. I knew in the very core of my being that everything was made of love. And it was kind of revealed to me. Now, it's really difficult. Anybody that's been in these kind of states, I would say it was more like samadhi. It was like peace. It was complete peace, understanding, knowing that I am exactly where I am in the world, and that nothing really matters. But the rub is, nothing matters because everything's love. But we give value, or the things that matter because of the level of consciousness that we arrive at them from. And ultimately, the biggest gift that we can give to ourselves is to cultivate a state of presence. Because when you're present with something, that's when you're creating in the now, and that's when you're in this love flow. So yeah, it was kind of, it was a real big eye opener for me, and it really helped me shift quite a lot of blocks that I'd been dealing with. Because obviously, as we talk about healings and spirals, we go round and round, and we can revisit things, but this kind of pulled everything together in a nice little bow. And really started to lift some of the debris that had been sat there for a while that I'd really been struggling with. So that for me was a real miracle. And it was kind of like, we talk about teaching. Now, I'm not a teacher. I don't call myself a teacher. I'm a student of life and I like to share my experiences. And if people get something from that, then that's really great. But the Course in Miracles kind of says this, like we are all teachers and we're all learners. And it's a symbiotic relationship that we form with everybody in our lives. Be that just a supermarket checkout lady, or somebody we meet on the street, or a homeless person, or our best friend, or our mothers or fathers, whoever. We've got these relationships and they're teaching us and we're teaching them. And that's kind of the essence of what love is, where the mirror for each other for different shades of love. And I found it was really, really miraculous that when you do these kind of things and you start to, we'll say, teach, but not really, experience these things and share them, God will bring them into your life. And it's like kind of a bit of a trial by fire, isn't it, Kirsten? Or at least that's what I found. So whenever you're kind of going to teach something or share something or explore something, you will be given the actual real life lessons. And that was the big takeaway for me. Like, I got all this knowledge and I already had this knowledge and I had a real deeper understanding of it in that moment. But what I needed to do then was say, right, how am I going to practically apply this to my life to make it better? Because that's the whole point of the spiritual journey, in my opinion. It's taking the concepts and then saying, right, well, how are we going to change? It's all good knowing it, but if you know everything's love and then you carry on doing the same stuff and you're still stressed and you're still stuck in the routines that you're in, it's not helped you at all, does it? So that's the thing. How can we practically apply it? So that was my own little thing in miracles. So bit of a soja in there. Sorry, I was on my soapbox. But Karen, have you had any experiences like this in your life that you can share with us?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You really brought tears to my eyes listening to you. Seriously. A Course in Miracles. Words escape me right now. Something pretty profound happened last Saturday. So what you were just saying is just right there in my heart, because it is the same experience that the spiraling. I feel the spiral. I choose, do I want to spiral up or do I want to spiral down? But what you said, it was almost like a nexus point, like it was neutral 0 point. Oh my gosh. All of a sudden there was like this clarity and just this feeling of being connected to everything all at once, all like, wow, just like everything's okay. But when you talk about the miracle, the Course in Miracles, the gratitude issue, that is pretty much how I came up with the name of my business slash thing, Grateful. A grateful heart is a magnet for miracles. So with the topic of today and it being, hey, can you come short notice? That's me. I'm so present. I don't plan anymore. For whatever reason, I just go with it. But last Saturday, and it's like, what day is it anymore? When did this happen? So a while ago, I have dreams and I have lucid dreams at times, but I'm not one of those people who journal it. And even though people are, you got to keep, I just trust that when I need to remember, I will remember when I need to. And I just let it go. I don't stress about my dreams. But there was one in particular, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, where there was like a divine feminine figure in the dream. And I was talking to her and I was holding her hand and I was looking in her eyes, because I always have these dreams over the years. And I'm like, what is your name? Please, I want to remember your name when I wake up, So she told me her name. And this was, a while back when she said the name. And over the years, I'm like, every time I would hear it, which was not often, I'd be like, oh, is that something? No, kind of wasn't. But I do work part-time retail. And this, pregnant woman was in and she was looking for a chair, like an outdoor camping chair. And I was showing her which ones I liked and why this one might be better than that one, and just having a good time talking with her. Because, she had that glow and the healthy pride. And she was like, oh, this wasn't planned. It was unexpected. So I was like, oh my gosh, let me give you some love. Right. And it was a really beautiful moment. So, and she left, didn't think anything of it until last Saturday. I get this random text on my business phone. Oh, hey, my daughter was at your store, bought a chair from you. And the more she told the story, the more I was like, that's got to be Karen. And she had my number because I met this woman randomly while getting my car inspected. And something wasn't working in just stories. And I ended up talking to the woman to go over and thank her for trying to help me with something. And we just started talking, and I said what I did with Reiki and natural law. And she asked about A Course in Miracles. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. So
Wow.
she invited me to a women's group in a nearby town where they get together and talk about A Course in Miracles. So that's where I met this woman. And it turned out I helped her daughter like a year later. And she still had my number. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then in a subsequent text, she mentioned her daughter's name. And it was the name. So it was just like this connection. And it was all kind of centered around A Course in Miracles and talking about, the Christ within, and about, concepts of natural law and empowerment and strength and love being the basis for everything. So it's kind of like this full circle of nothing is a coincidence. Absolutely nothing. And the more I experience it, the more my faith and trust in it grows, and the stronger that grows, and the gratitude for the experience grows, the more it's magnetizing into my experience of people and lessons and energies. It's just wow. And it's a lot of it has been divine feminine energy. It's the mothers, it's the daughters, and in some cases it's the granddaughters. So that it's like this divine feminine, not this distorted toxic feminine of ego and pettiness and jealousy and control, like all that. So it's just so great to be seeing so many people who are not necessarily in spiritual circles, but just faith, or seeking some kind of well-being or healing through something beyond this physical world, and they're finding A Course in Miracles. So it's such a great bridge to have conversations with people who, they're still very much under religious doctrine programming, but not, to an extreme. Because then you have some people say, religion's bad. Well, you need guardrails, obviously, because not everyone has self-control or self-awareness to be able to conduct themselves as a sovereign individual and take full responsibility for their choices and actions. And yeah, so the miracles are like, I'm seeing them, I'm feeling them. And anytime I'm just like out in nature, I see Kirsten, like every morning. I love that she's filming the sunrise from another part of the world that I can see and be there with her. And it's just like, yeah, I'm so connected, even though physically I'm nowhere near. But then we realize time and space don't exist anyways. So yeah, focusing on that oneness of unity with those who are not only awake, but doing the work, which is what I love about the panel, with the both of you and Diana and Stephen, is because of walking the talk and not just saying the words and platitudes for clicks and all of that stuff. But yeah, miracles are just flowing, Sam. They really are.
That's amazing. Do you know what? That doesn't surprise me, because we've had kind of a roller coaster, haven't we, Kirsten, where I kind of started looking into Course in Miracles. It started as a book group. Let's do a book group, and I was speaking to Diana about it, and I was like, I don't know what books to do, and it came out, and we mentioned a few, and I was like, Course in Miracles, and I was like, oh, but then because it's such a big thing, it turned into like a whole, took on a like story of its own. And we found that more and more people were being touched by this just because we'd gone into it. It was like magnetizing people. Like we had a guest on last week, and she's done A Course in Miracles for years, hasn't she, Kirsten?
Yes.
And like the fact that we just talked about this, and we were like, we were in a chat, and we hadn't spoken to Karen for ages. Let's get her on, see if she's free. And it's just amazing that you've now got this as well. So it just seems like we're all kind of being pulled together to deal with this,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We've actually got A Course in Miracles WhatsApp group. I know you were in about the Telegram earlier. So if you did ever want adding to that, please let me know and we'll put you in.
Sure,
So
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we just do a daily thing. There's no pressure there, don't worry, you don't have to. But yeah, so it's just kind of, we do the daily lessons and kind of see where we are, you know, and we talk about that kind of stuff, and like we share or we don't share, there's no pressure at all. But yeah, that is great. Kirsten, have you got any miracles you want to share with us?
Well, you know, I've been thinking a lot about miracles. I started really doing that the Course in Miracles, which I had a lot of resistance to. I'm not gonna lie, because I had associated it with certain church groups that I was kind of like, but actually it's amazing. But I really started thinking a lot about that, because when I think of miracles, I think a lot of times we are taught to see miracles as this huge thing, like, oh, I went to bed last night and I woke up in the morning and there was a castle and a unicorn in my yard, just boom, overnight. Like, that's a miracle, you know? And actually, when you really start to break it down, what isn't a miracle? Because, for instance, as a gardener, I can take a pot of dirt and put a little tiny seed in it and pour some water on it, and in a couple of months, I have a beautiful flower. And that in itself is miraculous. So if you just start looking, and you know what you were saying, Karen, about nothing being a coincidence. And it's like, the more you step into your intuition and open your heart up, the more these things just come to you. So I was thinking about it in terms of Jesus Christ, which we talk about, and which, again, a lot of people have resistance to that. But I want to tell you about something that happened to me a long time ago, actually. But it felt so miraculous at the time. So I had gone to this church service, and I just went because I wanted to support a family member. And my grandfather had recently died, and he had been going to that church and done these things, and they said that they announced at the beginning of the service, well, since he's passed away, we don't have anyone to teach the adult Sunday school class. And I was at the time a practicing pagan. You know, I wasn't doing black magic at all, but I was doing earth magic, and I was sort of doing this thing, and I was not interested in the Christian religion at all. And my cousin was sitting next to me, and she said, "You're going to do that, aren't you?" And I said, "No." But I just felt all of this tingling. And after the service, I was shaking hands with the pastor, and she was a really lovely woman. I really liked her, and it came out of my mouth before I even knew what I was saying. I said, I will volunteer to teach the adult Sunday school class. And then I walked out of the church, and I was like, what in the fuck have I done? This is ridiculous. I can't believe I said that. I don't even know anything about this. This is dumb. Why did I do this? And so I went to bed that night, and I had this dream. And in the dream, I was on a train, and the train stopped, and I got off the train, and I was at this mountain that I recognize. It's in western Colorado. It's on the Ute Reservation. And I stepped off the train, and I looked up at the mountain, and I was like, oh. And then I looked up a little higher, and there was this book on top of the mountain, and it was open. And there was just light streaming out of it. And I was like, wow. I looked at this mountain so many times and never seen that. And then, hi, Betty. I can hear it. And then I said, and then I kind of turned, and Jesus was standing there. But it wasn't really like, you know, your image of Jesus. It was just this big, it was love. It was just this overpowering love. And I couldn't even stand next to it for very long because it was so intense. Yeah. Woke up. I think I lost y'all. But when I woke up, I was like, oh, okay. I get it. I'll do this. And so, you know, that was kind of my start on, I really started rethinking so many things in my life. And, you know, now, I mean, I have all these little miracles happen every day that I don't even think about, you know, and I think we
Oh, she's frozen. Maybe she'll come back.
There's some, yeah. Am I back now?
Okay.
Yeah.
But that was
Yeah,
big. That was a big
yeah.
one. But there's always little ones like, I'm looking for this or I'm looking for that, and it just comes to me. Any kind of information that I want. And, little things like just, these deer came to me. And then this person that I haven't talked to for a long time called me. And, it's always like everything's kind of always suggesting what's going on. And so, yeah.
I think that's a really good point, though.
Yay!
It is. Do you know? It's because we think about, like you said, I really love that. Like these big things and miracles. Like, we see Jesus, which we all, we can have these really beautiful moments in our lives. And I feel like the really big things are. Oh, hi, Dawn. Thanks for being here. Yeah. So we have these miracles in our lives, and the thing is, they come up to show us. I think it's just to put us back on the path a lot of the time, or to redirect us. When you get kind of lost, the big ones, it's like, hey, I'm here, look at me, look at what's going on. And the small things, the small miraculous things that happen in our lives, like you were saying, because just took me a pen. The small things that happen in our lives, we think they're small, but we're not, because it's all interconnected, and it's kind of going back into this idea of like the stream of love and flow. When you're aligned with your life and you start to see things unfold in a really like divine and synchronistic way, it's like the fractal pattern is fracting out, and it's in complete like alignment is kind of what I want to say. It's not broken, it's not unharmonious, it's perfectly harmoniously unfolding for yourselves, and you don't have this kind of resistance. And then the small things are all part of the whole. So like you could meet, like you were saying, you could bump into somebody you've not seen for a long time. They could give you some information. Like Karen was on about, she got that message from a friend, and it was this thing to this dream, and it's all like interconnected, and it's this web that we're all woven into. And this is the thing that makes me really, really believe in like that we're all divinely guided, that there is a higher power, whatever you want to call that. And that, ultimately this experience is like a teaching kind of experience, and we're all going through it, but we're not alone. Because I think one of the things that people can feel like, especially when they're waking up, is like, oh my God, my friends are all asleep. Everybody's, doing this, or there's the jab, or Agenda 21, or whatever. You can get really lost in the source, but actually it's all unfolding as it's meant to do, and it's all teaching us something, and we're all perfectly where we're meant to be. And it's tapping into that kind of stream that makes life easier, because you're not fighting against something. It's not like, oh, everything's out there and there's just me on my own. You realize how connected you are, you realize how held you are, you realize how loved you are. We're never alone, even though we feel like it. And sometimes life gets really hard. And there's that poem that I always love. I think it's called Footsteps in the Sand. And it talks about, this person's writing to God and this saying, when I was on my own, there was only one set of footsteps in the sand. So you always left me when life was hardest, basically. And then God says, no, man, that's when I was carrying you, and it really always touches me, that kind of poem. And it's true. We feel like we're alone, but we're never alone. All we've got to do is ask for help. And that's kind of what I did with God last week. I was having a really hard time. And I said, God, I really need some help. I need you. I really need some guidance here. And that's when the thing happened on Tuesday. So yeah, I believe it. I believe that God is guiding us all. Yeah. So anyway, on that, Karen, have you had any other kind of stuff happen recently? So I know we were chatting about, we had a bit of a three-way thing with Nick, didn't we, on the X, about kind of the time is now. So I was sat at my kitchen table.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was Sunday or Monday. And I was just sat there like I do. And I often get these like things that just come in, and it was like this voice, and it was just like, the time is now. And I was like, all right then, for what? And yeah, so I shared it on the X, and a lot of people were also like, oh my God, there were so many people that had got the exact same message. And I'm wondering your thoughts on that, Karen.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Like because I write a ton. So I journal a lot of inspirations, channelings, scripture, things that cross my path, whatever it is. But couple times over the last several years, it was just a constant, now is the time is now, time, go, go, go. Another one of my clients actually really manifested using this technique. Like, I was like, it's all green lights for the rest of your life, just green lights. And then she texted me later and said, as she was driving home, this one stretch of highway where you're going to hit like 20 red lights around, she was like, it was all green lights. So I was like, by me sharing these things when I was thinking, oh, well, time, what does that mean? I don't know. But I found that the more I just spoke it, shared it, wrote it, posted it, something, that someone would respond or someone would be helped by it. And going back to last Saturday when I had that experience of finding out that this woman who's expecting a baby, like, she had the name of the woman from a dream I had years ago when, yeah. And I was like, what is your name? It was like a divine feminine friend, mother, sister energy coming through. And what was interesting was I was actually answering a text from Nick when my business phone went, and it was the mother, and she said that, and then I was just like, oh my gosh. So I was like, Nick, something really crazy just happened. And then also when we talked about the time thing, I've been incorporating a lot of biblical passages into some of my workshops and classes to just reinforce, to show, hey, there's a metaphysics, there's like science, but there's also scripture. I try to show all the pieces that support each other for different laws, natural law concepts. And I sent him, I don't even remember which one, it was a really simple one that came across, and it kept coming up to me, and I just texted it to Nick, and he was just like, whoa, wait a minute, like it helped him see. So I'm finding that the more I do include scripture or stuff from Course in Miracles, especially anything taught, the true teachings of Jesus, that kind of thing about empowerment, the more I shared it with people or use that name of Jesus Christ, that the response was way more powerful from people I did not expect to come up to me after like a guided meditation sound bath out in a forest a few months ago. And I included talking about Jesus Christ as part of, nature and love and all of that. And someone I didn't expect came up, and she was like crying. She was like, I was crying because people get their hearts open and activate with that. So it's like, where is this, why is there that resistance to Christ, to saying the name, or why is that name used as a curse and you don't say Buddha or Krishna that way? Or the show Supernatural with the angels and the devils and all the Zazels and Michaels. There's one character who's missing from that show, and no one's. So from my personal perception of, is there a false right? Who is Jesus? Was he really? The more I leaned into all of it, and I was like, yeah, they're trying to hide him for a reason, because I once did have a lucid dream where I was being attacked in darkness and demonic entities, and I just stood up and I invoked, the power and protection of Jesus Christ in my dream, lucid, and it was like wiped out, no more nightmare. So I was like really finding my own personal connection with releasing shame or embarrassment about saying, yes, Jesus Christ is my homeboy. I got Christ, I got Buddha, I've got Kuan Yin. I also very much resonate with the Bodhisattva, forgiveness and love and compassion. Very much a divine feminine kind of aspect of bringing, while mothers and women, we're loving, we're compassionate, but for as much light and love as you have equal and opposite measure of the darkness and strength. And you want to FA, you're gonna FO, buddy. You don't attack a really peaceful person, because you don't find that inner peace without waging an extremely destructive war against those dark forces that feed off us, that are attached to us, that perhaps in my case I feel was generationally inherited through trauma of previous women in my family. So, and again, that's just a way that I kind of perceive it all. But then again, you understand when you believe it, and so it is. So if it feels good and it makes sense, I just go with it. I don't overthink things anymore. I'm just like, if something says yes, okay, something says no, I don't ask why anymore. I'm just like, okay, just trusting because, we're just these little avatars, but we're so powerful when we're tuned in to that highest frequency. And something that's been coming through, not only like the time is now, but it's also the time is now. Like a lot of us have found that alignment. And now it's just a matter of kind of living, allowing that coherence to flow. It's like, okay, I'm naturally at this frequency now, and I am not tolerating anything lower than it anymore. Like, no, am I rude to people? Want to take that as rude? That's fine. It's love. It's love and respect for me and my peace and my being, because I understand. So absolutely, I say the time is now. And the time is always now. Then I say that. But yes, with the signs and synchronicities, I told Nick, I'm like, I've been getting signs and synchronicities and angel numbers out the yin yang, mind-bogglingly, to the point where driving home the other day, weird time, all green lights, even left turn lights, and then I'm behind a van. Oh, there's the number on the license plate. Same as my house number. Same as the number of a phone number, a guy with his loyalty rewards card at the retail job. I'm like, I keep seeing this number, and it adds up to a 17. Like, so many of that stuff. Which, there's the concept where that's the number of God's ultimate victory. Is that, So I've been seeing it, and each time I do, it just reinforces, okay, it's coming. Okay. And I'm like, okay, I keep seeing, okay, thanks. What do you guys find that you're not getting as like, ooh, excited as you used to? You're just like, it's like normal. Like, I'm always seeing numbers.
I mean, with me and Chris spoke about that. Can we just comment on Dunn? I just want to quickly say that. And then, so Dunn said that he's not got a problem with Jesus. It's his fan club that freaks him out. Now, I'm kind of in agreement with him. It's the organized dogma, isn't it? Like, and I just want to briefly say before we move on, Jesus, in my opinion, obviously this is just my opinion, is a kind of Christ consciousness. It's an emanation of God, or a consolidation of a part of God that we're able to tap into. It's like a step down. So it's not quite as removed from us. It's like a stream of God. And I feel like the church or any institution that needs to put themselves between you and God to reach God is an inversion. But that is just my opinion. But yeah, I agree with you there, Don. Go on, Kirsten, sorry.
And I think it's a deliberate inversion, honestly, because, as we know, we live in an inverse world. And I really think that it was really to drive a lot of people who are truly spiritual and who don't need dogma, who have, who are in touch enough with themselves and their hearts to want to be spiritual, to kind of drive them away from that Christ consciousness. And I kind of have to laugh because Yogananda, who's one of my favorite gurus, calls those people churchians. It's like they're not really following Christ, churchians. And I think that, I really do feel like that was deliberately done to keep the real Christ away from people. And also, you need an intermediary to even get to Christ. It's like, no, he's right here. He's right here. And you don't need anyone to get you to that. All you need to do is open your heart to it. So, yeah. So
churchians. I've not heard that one. I did hear a funny one. What did I saw it somewhere on Twitter. Someone said, "Oh yeah, I don't believe it. Those Judeo Christians, like Judeo-Christians. Oh my gosh, that was funny. I actually had a sensible chuckle over that one. I'd not heard that one before. But yeah, it's
Yeah, that's a
and it's also interesting how they said, okay, yeah, like some people were like, oh no, Christ didn't come, and then you're saying, yeah, he did, but you kill him, and then it's, all that. But it's all the fighting of
right.
it, when really it's all about the feeling in your heart that's what matters, because everything has been falsified, given fake names, inverted meanings. You just don't know, but you know in your heart when you experience something, if it's true or not, it resonates with
Yeah,
your being. And as Sam had said, it's just you receive it at your level of consciousness. It's like you can read a book when you're 10, like if you read To Kill a Mockingbird or some, one of the old classics, Slaughterhouse-Five, and then you read it when you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, you get a totally different experience reading some of those classic stories. So yeah, consciousness impacts understanding and perception. And the Churchians and the Judeo-Christians, I think they're losing their clout as more people are tapping into the true Christ. Not that there's only one and that's it. That's the only one that's ever going to be there. Like, no, that's false. Like, there are many of us, all sons of God
yeah,
within us. And it's our
yes,
responsibility to, think, feel, and do and act in the highest love and grow our consciousness and awareness to achieve those abilities and our memories, our true memories of who we are. I'm excited about that. That's one I
exactly.
very much pray on. Is remembering. I just want to remember the truth. So, and it's great to
Yeah.
have
Yes.
people that are all working together and we validate each other. Like we're receiving the same messages and the same experiences or hearing the same, like I had this song in my head all day and all of a sudden somebody made a video using that song. It's like the universe is a song. It's made of music and notes. It's all patterns and sacred geometry. It's like, yes, life is a song. And it's, yes, let's
Yes.
enjoy it. Let's sing the song. Let's stop being afraid of using our voices and being cringe or being outrageously fun and awesome and shaking what we got. Like that's why we have these physical bodies. I mean, is not to be an ascetic monk that never drinks booze, never smokes, never has sex. If that's your jam and your path, that's fine, but don't shame me. Don't shame me for wanting to enjoy this physical ride, because we all signed up for different reasons and we all have different purposes and whose lives we're meant to touch and influence or inspire.
Yeah, that's a really good point about the physical body then, the physical experience, because it's true. And I was just thinking about that. A lot of the times they do a lot of these practices and it's like they're looking for something like, it's good, isn't it, really, ultimately, but they don't realize that. But what they're actually doing is looking for it outside of themselves. So they kind of put these practices on a pedestal so they can bypass the human experience. But the whole point of being here is to be embodied and to be present. Going back to the presence thing, you need to be in your body to go higher anyway, properly, to be grounded in, because you can't reach those higher spiritual states in a stable way if your base isn't stable, which is the physical body. And this is why I talk about doing the work and doing the healing. Because if you're ungrounded and you're not rooted in your physical reality, it's a little bit like we're going to go and talk about the AI, but the same sort of thing with that using technology. If you use it as a method to bypass what's going on, it takes you out of your life. So you become a backseat passenger in the life that you're here to be living, and it goes back to this creation element. Your dog's being a bit silly, sorry. It goes back to this creational element of where we're creating from the now. And if you're a backseat passenger, you can't do that because you're abdicating your sovereignty. And again, it always comes back to sovereignty. And it's the big lesson that we learn over and over and over again. And the more we do it, the more nuanced it becomes. And the more you see different ways that are more deeper and more refined that we need to kind of pay attention to. So the whole thing for me is sovereignty. And it's being in the body. That's where you start. And I'd just get your thoughts on that, Kirsten.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. And being in the body, I mean, your body actually is your intuition. Your body is the perfect vehicle to navigate this reality, or whatever it is, you know, what we call reality. And so when they say your gut instinct, that's literally true. You can feel it. And we've been taught to ignore that to such a large extent. And I think about it in so many different ways. You know, like, you're taught that you have to do all these things you don't like. So if it doesn't feel good, do it anyway, because you're supposed to do this. This is what you have to do. And your body's going, oh, no, no. And we're taught to override that and do things anyway. So it's a way of pushing us out of our bodies. And so many people don't live in their bodies. And I can say that as a yoga instructor. You know, I get students in sometimes and I say, oh, you know, turn your left foot to the left, and they turn their right foot forward because they're not even in tune enough. And I'm not dissing those people, because they're trying to make it better and they're making an effort. But they've been so long away from living in their bodies that they're not even in touch enough to know what their bodies are doing. And that's why I love physical practices like yoga and dancing, because they bring you back into that, and you can start moving into your body and really feeling where you are. Because like I said, your body, I mean, you've got your antenna, you've got everything right there. And all you have to do is tune into it, and you'll soon be really able to follow your intuition, because you'll know, when my heart says yes, I need to do this. When my heart says I need to step away. When I get someplace and I'm like, I don't really want to go in here. Yeah, I don't go in there. You know, it's just, but it's learning to listen to that again. And it's a process sometimes, because we really have been encouraged. And as you were talking about the media, that's one of the chief ways that they bring us out of our body. You know, you see all these people, and I'm not saying, oh, you lost me. Okay, here I am. So I'm not judging these people or saying that they're wrong, but, you know, sitting in front of the television for, you know, hours on end every day, you're actually putting all of your attention on something that's not in your body, and that's not even you. And so it's taking you out of that. And meanwhile, your real life is going on all around you. And it's the same with social media. We get really pushed into there, and we're looking at that. And again, I'm not judging that. And I do that myself. I go on social media, obviously, because I post a lot of things on social media. I've met some of my dearest, best friends on social media. But the thing is that when we're stepping into that realm, and we literally are putting our minds into that realm, and we're narrowing down the field and not actually experiencing what's right here with us. And so again, it's being in the moment, and being in the body fully is being in the moment.
Yeah, I agree. Beautifully put. Beautifully put. And I love what you said about bringing yourself back into the body through physical practice, because that is the key, isn't it? When you're dissociated, you're just not in there. So it's doing anything where you can kind of get that coherence between mind, spirit, body. And especially things like we talk about it a little bit, like Kriya Yoga is really good, because you're using like the breath, which is a life force energy. You're infusing your body with that. You've got your attention and focus on the body, the spirit with the breath, and you're merging those together, and it brings you into that heightened state of awareness, really, and presence. But yeah, I'm wondering if we want to, what we want to tackle next. So I think we're going to do it for an hour, aren't we, today?
Yeah. You know, I'm wondering if misunderstood. Because I said,
well, maybe
take your time,
maybe you
drink your
should fire
coffee.
him a little message and just say, "Are you coming on? We're waiting for you."
Yeah.
He might be busy, maybe.
Yeah, he might be. We'll
he
see.
might be enjoying his
what
coffee.
happens here.
Yeah, we were meant to be joined by Nick, but he had a date with his coffee.
Okay.
but it's all right because it's
Yeah.
good. We've got the lovely Karen. Karen, I'm just wondering, what are you up to at the moment? What are you kind of doing with your spiritual practices?
Oh, a lot of prayer. I mean, it's not like my thing is kind of loosey goosey. I go with the flow. I
Yeah.
pretty much have music on. I'm very into, I love music. I love moving around. So, like, my meditations are sometimes just kind of twirling around, kind of like the Sufis, and just whirling dervish and just being in nature, breathing. I know, Kirsten, I love your photos of like the flowers, just inspire me. And I've started some new plants, and I purposely buy the ones that look really, really, really sad and like they're on their last legs, but I'll still buy. And the one, it finally grew another stem. So you put your attention on it. You give it love. That's what grows things. So I love how, yeah, like your gardening and the plant thing really inspires me, because that was something I didn't really do growing up, was gardening or being in nature beyond hiking and 4-H club and jumping off waterfall. I did some crazy, crazy stuff as a kid. I think back, I'm like, I absolutely had a lot of protection, a lot. Thinking about, how time only exists in the now. I guess part of my practice would be during meditation is that I would go back and like revisit points of my life that were either super amazing or super terrible, or kind of just revisit and observe it from this consciousness, and be like, oh, okay, or to heal that younger self and be there as my own guardian angel, and just hug that younger version of me and say, you got this, you're doing the best you can with what you know, with what's going on right now. You got this. So it's like I'm infusing that love and confidence and faith in that version of me, and like I do believe that level of healing and releasing whatever kind of stuck energy of that memory or experience, it gets released and it does ripple. I absolutely believe it ripples through all the timelines. And I do believe that it helps me in the now. As Sam, as you said, you felt like the debris just coming off. That, I think that's where my heart and my eyes started tearing up, like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I've been doing. But I didn't know that's what I was doing. I was just contemplating life, trying to, as I write, I'm trying to write and come up with examples that I can share with people who come to my seminars and workshops, and be like, hey, here's an example. This is what I went through. This is what I learned. There's no shame and there's no judgment, because, thank goodness I'm of the age when I was in my wild high school and college days, there were no camera phones. Or at least not ones that the general mundane public had. I'm sure things were recorded. There's always eyes everywhere. But practice for me has been just really self-observation of my life experiences and finding situations, family members, people that were in my life, and trying to find resolution with however things ended. I don't know about how, if this is similar for anyone else, but my particular circumstances of friends and romantic relationships, a lot of them have passed on, like through self-choice or destructive habit circumstances. So like like pretty much everyone I grew up with is transitioned to another plane of existence. So there's times, and again, I go back to the whole, how protected was I? Or is the work I'm doing now rippling back then and protecting me from all the crazy, crazy that was going on back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s?
Yeah,
where
that's interesting.
I witnessed so much darkness and insanity, and yet I still came out relatively unscathed and I want to say, but just with perspective of, if people go through terrible shit, sometimes they become terrible, because it's like, no, I took the route of, now I'm going to be more loving and understanding, because I know what it's like to go through that. So I will not judge. I will just help you find your light within to heal it. And
I
knowing
think,
that, you know, telling people they have to bring the healing through themselves, like that
yeah.
they have that power, you know, they set the intention, they have to focus and want it hard enough, but then, oh, TV and social media, I'm going to go do that, and then they forget all about trying to maintain a consistent practice.
So I just wanted to cut in there, Karen, when you were talking about the past, present, and future. I just say we all know pretty much by now, we've got a grasp that time is non-linear. And this is kind of like a holographic unit, or that's what I believe anyway, but there's been actual scientific evidence that's kind of suggested that, oh, Nick's here.
Yeah, Nick's here. Let's put him, there he
Hey,
is. Okay.
you had your coffee?
Hey, brother.
Still working on it. I never sleep this late, but well, I slept till 10, and you probably didn't want me here because I would not have been present.
Oh.
To be honest, I did say that you were a bit grizzly in the morning, apparently. We've seen the pictures.
I am only technically conscious before about 2 cups of coffee.
It's the lubrication of life, Nick, don't worry. We all need it occasionally.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll tell you after the show what lubrication of life I've had today. But anyway, that's a story for not on air. We've been talking about miracles mostly, and then we've kind of been talking about past, future, and present, and kind of what's what time is essentially, and like our experiences of that. But I mean, if you're ready to dive in, we'd love to hear about Pickle Nick. Don said, here, Pickle Nick. Yeah, hilarious. You missed a good one from Karen. She had somebody say Studeo Christian, which was absolutely like, it cracked me up. I'm not going to lie. So we're just wondering, have you ever had any kind of miracles happen to you that have made you kind of feel like you're divinely aligned and you're meant to be here?
Yeah, I end up having a similar thing. Actually, Karen and I were talking about this the other day, about having dreams and then years, sometimes months or years later, have that dream actually be a peek at the future. Like you'll know exactly what somebody's going to say beforehand. They'll say an odd combination of words, and right before they do, you have that string in your head already, and remember that you dreamed it. I don't know exactly what the mechanics behind that are, but it's one of the odder little signposts that I've seen, almost like it's the universe going, okay, you're on the right path. Here's the dots, connect them. It's like, you feel like you're having a hard time. Then, boom, I remember a dream I had when I was 20 about what this person's going to say. I don't know if that really qualifies as a miracle, but I've heard that story from, myself, Karen, bunches of us have had that kind of like signposting happen. And above and beyond the actual miracle moments where things happen that shouldn't, it's interesting because it's like our future isn't written in stone, but it's definitely written in clay, where it's malleable, but not easily. So I think you're right, Don. But like I've had deja vu of, I feel like this happened, but it's like having a deja vu of, I know what's going to happen before it does. I remember, I grew up with let's just say my dad was not a very nice person. And it was one of the earliest memories, way before I was ever aware of the world around me. Way before I'd ever spiritually awoken. But I'd had a dream of comments that my dad and I talking, and me, of course, being the natural smartass. I remembered what I ended up saying, and it was probably 5 or 10 years later, he ended up saying the exact same thing, and I knew what was coming, and I knew what I said in the dream, and I got this big ping of, do not say what you're about to say. It's like, we gave you this preview for a reason. Don't say it.
Yeah.
And it was extremely smart ass. So it's probably a good call. But it's like, I don't know how to explain the deja vu, but it was basically like one of those moments, because looking back on it, too many years later, it was one of those timeline alteration moments.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't understand the mechanics on it. And miracles are such a weird thing because it just completely violates reality. But the only thing I really understand on it is that's fine. Reality is flexible.
Does it violate reality, or is it just a form of really super cohesion of reality? So normally reality is just kind of bumbling along, and then when you have a miracle, it's like almost like super alignment. Because I love what you're saying about the dreams, because I have that, and it is literally that's what I've been told what it is. It's like extreme deja vu, where it brings me into like hyper awareness, and everything kind of becomes, I'm not saying super crystal clear, but it's like I become focused, and then I have this knowing. And it isn't even like it was a dream. It's just like, oh, this has happened before. This is going to happen. I need to be really present with what I'm saying now, because this is a choice point. Basically, this is what I've been told. So how you react now is going to influence the stream that you're going to experience going forward. And I almost feel like we go back and we do it over and over again. Like we were literally just talking about time being malleable before you came on, and it not being like the past being influenced by the present, the future being influenced by the present. Like it's all just, we kind of in flux. And I don't even feel like what we're experiencing now is set in stone either, which I know absolutely blows your mind, but we wouldn't be able to do this and have this precognition and see all the streams going out, because that's essentially what we're doing. We're just becoming more hyper aware of the streams of consciousness and the choice points, because it's already in existence. Everything already exists. We're just choosing where to go. And I just think the kind of frequencies that we're aligned with magnetizes to the most likely timeline, essentially. So the more work and the more healing we do kind of makes us more magnetic to higher timelines.
I agree, Sam. And, it's really funny because I got a sync on this morning. I wake up every morning and the first thing I do is I write 3 pages. It's my morning page practice. And this morning I wrote, "What if life is just Groundhog Day?" which is a movie that I really dislike. Sorry, I really, I know a lot of people like that movie and it's cool, but I just I can't stand to sit there and watch that stuff happen over and over. I'm just like, stop. But
little bit really, PTSD there.
Yeah, a little bit. But it was really funny because I wrote that down because my mind is really boggled, and taking it back to the Course in Miracles, the lesson I looked at today was I only see the past. And I was like, that's so boggling because, I mean, and it really threw me into this, wow, what is reality really? And so when Karen brought up the timeline thing, and it's like, are we influencing the past by what we do? Because I had the same experience, Karen. I was a wild maniac when I was younger. And it is really astonishing that I survived my youth, as a lot of people I know. But, it is. It's like, well, is this work now affecting that? Because I've seen that before. Your present affects everything, not just the future, not just now, and not everything. Everything
all
is
of
affected
it
by your present. Yeah. And so bringing it back to that moment, it's just like, wow.
Maybe that's what was meant by the time is now. Like the time is like, you need to be in the now. It was a bit of a play on
the
words.
time is now, not the time that we don't need to do anything. We just need to be here now and consciously choose in every now moment to choose what makes our heart feel good. And I deeply, deeply believe that something I've been obsessed with, like the Sonnenrad, the black sun stuff, is that when you add light into the darkness, you get a luminous shadow. Like it's not, so those of us who kind of had the fun and the darkness and the no stuff. And it's like you experienced it. So you are more conscious to when you make a choice, and when you start choosing the light and realizing, hey, this is a better option. There's better consequences and outcomes when I follow the light and do the discipline and the morality and the right thing, as opposed to instant gratification and ego and materialism. It's like, okay, you have greater awareness of it because you've chosen it before, right? So now I feel that in my current now is that I always consciously choose, the best light possible, healing, love, whatever it might be. And as I bring that light in, it is rippling when I do these meditations on the past. I am bringing this now light into that past darkness, and I'm, illuminating that shadow. So it's not like as dense and dark and awful and painful. It's enlightening it. It's releasing it. It's allowing it to kind of let go and go where it needs to go. As you let go, so you have space to bring in more of the light. And I feel that it's a constant process. Like the Infinity 8 comes to mind. Like things flow through and around and up and down. It's choosing, where do you want your attention to go. And it's funny, Kirsten, when you said about, you're focused on the past, you're thinking about that scripture or that passage, that lesson in the Course in Miracles, is I find myself very much in the now moment. I am very much more focused and thinking and putting my energy towards the future. And just the beautiful, magnificent abundance, health, freedom, all of the good stuff. Like that's all I want to think about, feel, create, whether it's music or painting or applying makeup or doing my hair. Like that's expression of beauty as well. Like nothing is off limits. Everything is beautiful and healthy when you put that loving intention into it. Like even washing dishes, like, oh, cleaning the dish. I'm going to have a good homemade meal and everyone's going to enjoy it. And we're going to have, it's going to be nourishing. Just the intentions. And the more I've done it, the more it rewires to be a natural gratitude flow of everything I do is out of love, whether it's love for the plants or for my pets or my family or, the people who come through the store where I work. I don't know. But when you focus on the feeling and knowing that asking it is done, and that what you set your attention, it's there. It's just a matter of getting to that frequency to match it and to lock it in, and finding that trust and that faith and that discipline of like, I got to keep my mind on that. Circumstances don't matter. Dumb stuff, clown world, blah, blah. I'm still here. I'm focused on my highest timeline. That's what I magnetize. So it's like I am focused on the future and anchored in the now, so that I can continue the when I'm in a good flow and not in a kind of a crash out energy, which is shaken up times over the week. Sometimes the highs get low, so trying to find that calibrate and find an equilibrium, but at a higher frequency. Each time I go through like another dark, horrible, soul crushing, why me? Why this? How much longer? Keep showing me things. Come on. Like, show it in my bank account already, buddy. Like, come on. That kind of stuff. But I always come out stronger and a little bit more refined, because you don't grow through ease. And I think a lot of us, we're programmed to, we like things comfortable and easy. But then there's the other extreme that we don't want to, be torturing ourselves with super strict diets that we don't like. Or personally, I'm not into cold plunges. My body doesn't like it. I'm not doing it. And you're not going to, whatever. Maybe at some point I will when my consciousness is there. Maybe, maybe not. Don't know. Don't care. Again, I just stop stressing about it and go within, because what's right for other people may not be right for you. And to just be okay with, well, apparently I'm the only one. But that's the great thing about sovereignty is that you get to choose what's right for you.
You do, absolutely. Come.
Right. That's
I think
right.
so many people get so focused on the doctrine of how to that they forget that this is their story. And they get so focused on, I have to be love and light, that they forget to live their life. And it just means that by trying to be happier, you end up stressing yourself out more. It's like there is a time for crash out, and there's a time for relax. And I don't think there's any good time for cold plunges, but maybe if you're led to. But, so many people get so stressed out about doing the right thing that they stop doing the right thing. And I've seen that way too many times. It's like one of the things my guide slapped me with after about the 20 or 30th time where I'd go into meditation and just see timelines. I was finally like, okay, I had a little bit of a crash out on my guide. And they explained that a timeline isn't just a line. It's a string that's vibrating like a guitar string. And what you do in the now, yes, it affects the future, but it also affects how the past perceives things. So all of the things that you're doing is that as you're vibrating that string, yes, it'll build the future, but it heals the past. There's your figure 8 as it's traveling back and forth on the string as it vibrates. And the more stuff that you have condensed around you in the present, the more guilt and restriction and things, the more it dampens that string, so it can't affect the past and future at the same time. So basically, my guide told me to lighten the hell up and be here and let your vibrations go. And that's probably good because some of the stuff I've had to dig into is not very happy. Oh,
Yeah.
And that takes us
2
to
points.
the time is now. The time is now.
I love that though. That's really interesting what you were talking about, like the lemniscat as a string, like that's connected and it's like constantly looping backwards and forwards. Because I've really been trying to get my head around timeline mechanics, because obviously you get given snapshots, and when I had my Kundalini, I was shown quite a lot of stuff about how like time and things work, but I'm not a physicist, unfortunately. And they do try to give us these concepts, and sometimes it blows my mind, and I'm trying to grasp and what they're meaning, and we can only get like kind of snippets. But I love what you were saying about the kind of density dampening the vibration, and and it kind of links into this idea that, I mean, Sarah the Alchemist spoke about it, and it kind of made sense because it was something that I was going through. So like past lives even are probably the same sort of thing, like the lives of a string, and they're still not linear either, but it's because it's like this backwards and forwards, isn't it? And if you put it, because it's the microcosm of the macrocosm of the whole, I've been dealing with a lot of stuff from like past lives recently, and the density that we bring with us sits in our field, and it's like karmic debris. I mean, we mentioned that earlier, and I've been trying to clear that off. I mean, I know you do that with past lives and stuff as well, Nick, don't you? But I suppose that would also do the same with, I know it's a bit of an understatement, but yeah.
I got
So-
all my past life clearing in 6 months, whether I wanted it or not.
Oh, really? Bloody hell.
Yes.
But
yeah.
this is it dampens it. So we end up with like stuff in our field, and it's almost like the ghost of the lives that we've lived, because we're not currently focused on them right now, but they're all linked. So the more we can clear that field, the clearer and more harmonized we are across our entire being, essentially. Is that kind of what you were saying?
Pretty much. But it does have a direct effect. Actually, Don over there in the chat talked about how he realized that some of the experiences he had was in the past was him from the present actually talking to him and giving him those nudges. So it's kind of like that infinite loop that future you makes changes, nudges present you, and present you ends up nudging past you to do better, because it's all you. No matter where we are on that string, it's still you.
Mm-hmm.
So future you may tell present you to lighten up. Present you is telling future you, what, are you crazy? And then future you ends up influencing past you to be like, yeah, release the stress. So that way present you lightens up. So
like a massive feedback loop.
Yeah. I don't know if I went off too much on a tangent. This is only my second cup, so.
You're doing well today. You've just had 2 cups of coffee, I've got to say. But yeah, obviously
like,
taking a bit.
Like I
Go
said,
on.
Don had that happen where some of the messages he got were from him, and he realized that when he went to visit himself in the past, that was where he got that message. So.
And it kind of goes back into this thing we were talking about, synchronicity, because it's all connected, isn't it? I do really feel like the amount of, it's to do with more coherence. The more coherent we have and an alignment, because the more you clear the density, the lighter you get. But that also means that you're more, because we're geometry, basically. That's kind of what I've been told. We're all geometry. Like the world is geometry. It's just condensed light as we perceive it, like on a higher level. And when things get out of alignment, it's just the geometry is not in the perfect shape. And the more that you come back into alignment, the more the geometry is more perfect. And that's kind of how I see like synchronicities and like for the flow state, when you get into the flow state.
Well, I know Karen's
really
had
makes
a
sense.
long rash of synchronicities lately, and I'm kind of curious where those landed on.
I'd say it landed on Kirsten reaching out to me yesterday and asking me to come on today. That was like another thing, because I realized as I was trying to consciously step out of the social media, sucking my attention, because I've had a lot kind of stuff in the physical world that's been demanding my attention and care. So, yeah. And I was like, man, I have so much to share because I write so much, and then working through my blocks of how do I want to present it? What kind, like overthinking videos, platforms, this or that. Okay, I can do that. Training wheels, get comfortable knowing that it's just a program. We're always getting better. We're always learning from our future selves and our past selves and bringing it all together. And my guide, my future self, higher power is all like the most constant message I get especially in like entertainment and movies, is the line, like the character. So I guess the most recent one I saw where it came out a lot was in Donnie Darko. And it was always like, everything's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay. And then realizing the Drew Barrymore character was named Karen. I was like, I never noticed that before. And she was the one in the movie who was trying to, bring awareness to her students about all of this stuff. And I was like, what? Was that me? And then she gets fired because, you're not following the system. I'm like, that's what happened to me in 2020. Like, what? So, yeah, I do believe everything is going to be okay, because apparently Big Hire Me knows this version of me is always like, super skeptical, always questioning everything and everybody, and even some scientific concepts. Things were they even based on fact? Do we believe what we believe? Is gravity real? Are there waters above us? Are we Sandy the squirrel in the bubble in Bikini Bottom? Maybe. So it's kind of funny. It's that I have kind of like this total lack of attachment to what this world is. Is this a simulation, video game? Hey, let's have a kick-ass soundtrack. I was, rocking out to some KMFDM. It's like, yes, different energies, different intensities and rhythms of life. You don't have to be all love and light, as Nick said. You don't stop judging yourself to have to be super nice and super happy, shiny, happy people holding hands. Like, no, that's the trick. That's the system's trick, is saying you must choose this or that, not this and that, and finding the balance, finding your alignment and what feels right for you at any particular now moment. because we're always shifting. We're never the same. So this doing the same techniques and beliefs over and over aren't necessarily going to work forever. And I know there's some people that get freaked out with that because then they're like, all of a sudden, oh, this always worked for me, but now it doesn't help me anymore. What do I do? And it's like, I don't like, you need to go within and do some introspection, or because no one's going to give you the answer outside of yourself. And that's like the scariest thing for some people, is to realize no one is going to give you the order that you want to hear. And if they do, it's probably not for your benefit. It's for someone else's benefit.
Yeah.
That's
Kirsten,
so
I mean,
true.
what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's so true. And I think, a lot of times, like Karen said, that whole either or thing, that's actually one of the basic fallacies in reasoning. When I used to teach speech class and I was talking about persuasive speaking, it's not either or. It never is. And that's part of the whole illusion of duality. It's like saying, well, if the right takes over, then everything's fine, or if the left takes over, then everything's fine. It's like, no, because that is really unbalanced. And what we're coming back to is the balance. And the balance is not this or that. The balance is everything in harmony together. And harmony is not one note. It's all of these notes, and everything isn't black and white. It's just like saying, well, everything that's a reptile is bad, or everything that's a Democrat is bad, or whatever you want to say. And it's like, no, that's not really true, because everything contains dark and light. Now, are there things that contain more dark and more light? Absolutely. Absolutely, there are. But ultimately, when you really want to come back to balance, you have to bring it back to center. You can't be over here or over here and be balanced, because you're just going like this. And that's part of how the powers that were are trying to create that chaos by throwing everything out of balance. Well, you have to dislike these people, and these people are bad, and this is bad, and this is good, and you have to choose between bad and good. And actually, there is a point where you need to make a choice, but the choice is not either or. The choice is, how am I going to bring this together and make it my creation, and make my creation the creation that I want it to be? I don't want to make an ugly, bad creation, obviously, but there is darkness in this creation, and what the darkness is the womb, and that's what actually comes up, like we were talking about before, Karen, with having that sort of going through the darkness when we were younger, because we're bringing that into creation, and the creation must have both in it. If we create something that's just one or the other, that's where the unbalance comes in, and that's where the misalignment comes in, because we are not aligned with our true selves. We're not aligned with our centers. We're just, on this teeter-totter going up and down, woohoo! And it can be fun sometimes, but ultimately what we're looking for is that balance between everything. And that's where the peace is.
Yeah, and I would say,
sorry, Karen, just 1 minute. Yeah. So
sure.
I was just going to say, I really love that about the peace, because that's what we've had quite a lot of chats with the guides and things, and they're kind of saying the place that you want to get to is peace, and you reach that by being in balance, don't you? And just bringing that back round to kind of where we're going next, I kind of feel like a lot of us have been in the waiting room. We're waiting for something, and it's almost like we're trying to balance what's come before us with what's coming next. And I'd love to get all your takes on that, kind of going back into the synchronicity kind of things. Where do you feel like we're moving? Because for me personally, I kind of feel like it's almost like, I don't want to say stagnation, because it's not, but it's like we've gone through this massive upheaval. We've had to integrate a shit ton of like fuckery, basically, and whatever else has gone on. And now it's like, it's still, it's peace. But is it because we're not used to the peace? Is this what's coming forward? Or are we kind of waiting for something to unfold? I'd love to get your thoughts on that, Karen. What are your thoughts on that?
That is such a great question, Sam. Oh my gosh. Yeah, all of it. all of it. So The Waiting. That song has also come up a lot. Tom Petty, The Waiting is the hardest part. That's come through a lot for me. I really. So there's this point where I'm just like, okay, nothing's happening. You know, the big joke, oh, big booms, nothing ever happens, right? But the thing is, I feel like we are feeling this incredible peace because we've consciously withdrawn our attention from the circus. Like, I don't even care about owning the libs or spicy memes or edgelord, blah, blah. Like, that's fine. Done that for, I've kind of burned myself out on that. Not that I'm done with it. Every now and then I still post stuff and someone was like, "You're a Reiki master?" Because there's some kind of sarcastic thing about the no walking, no jogging. Yeah, no kings. Yeah, whatever. I can make fun of stuff if I want to. I'm still human. That's fine. My ego likes it. I keep my shadows happy. They love me and we grow together. Like that's my concept of the shadows, is that, eventually, I can say, "Hey, you know what? You can rise with me and I can help get you out of the muck. But if you want to stay in the stuff, I'm going to cut you off and you're going to go wherever." So I do believe that because I kind of have this weird, I used to have dreams like around like reptilians and ritual. Like, I've had some really vivid dreams when I was young of, yeah. So I don't know. Sometimes I kind of have these thoughts, and when I see certain numbers, I'm like, do I have some kind of inherited darkness DNA? Don't know, but I've learned to reconcile and like, hey, if I do, or if I'm a bio robot, or if I have something alien, that I've come to peace with that. If someone came and said, "Hey, you're a part reptile," I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. Like being okay with whatever kind of being or energy. But this peace, I feel we're just disconnected. We don't care. But I feel like there is action because I'm having these crash outs that are very productive and bring me growth. So it's like the world might be stuck, but I am not stuck because I choose to not be stuck, because I felt that way for a while. And then higher self was just like, you can just do things. And it's like, yeah, I can. So I just started doing things, cringy things, obnoxious things in the real world. And it's like, I don't care. And it's fine because then it triggers people. And I just laugh about it. And I'm like, well, maybe that gave them a lesson. That's fine. I don't judge myself. Like, don't care about not being rude to people, but just understanding, yeah, I'm standing in my truth. I'm living my thing. I'm saying what I say, what I said, I did what I did. And I know it wasn't with any harm. It was just with love in my heart. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. And everything works out. Always exactly where you need to be. I always circle back to the basics. Like Sam said, it's all about your foundation. And know thyself. If you know who you are, what you stand for, what your purpose is, then you're unshakable. People, world, circumstances can get thrown at you. Doesn't matter. It won't change my mind. But yeah. But I feel like we are getting really secure in our own little pocket universes or microverses, and that we're building our own little empires together yet separately. But I feel at some point it's going to converge into one grand, glorious, golden timeline of those of us who've been doing our private work in our individual worlds and lives, businesses, families, whatever it may be. So I think the patience waiting room is good because we're getting so comfortable with the lack of drama and bullshit that the longer we're disconnected from that chaos energy, the less tolerant we will be of it when because I do believe it'll lash up again with all the bullshit, and this just immediately shut it down. Like, I'm not even going to pretend nicely with people anymore. Like, I'll just hang up on them. I'll walk away. I don't care anymore about the stupid things, the unreal things, and the only thing that's real is the love and the consciousness. So having these kinds of gatherings and discussions and, talking about Course in Miracles and opening people's, just opening their minds, their options, just introducing concepts to people and just planting those seeds, Kirsten. Like you said, you can't dig them up every day and oh, are you growing yet? You gotta water it, nourish it. That's how I look
Like
at
that.
meditation, is like, go in my heart space, plant a seed of intention, and then visit there as often as I can and just watch it grow, love it, water it. Pull it. Yay, there are any weeds, pull them, throw them in a fire, whatever kind of methods. But I would say be very selfish with your attention the next few weeks. Because Pennsylvania had another crazy thing happen last night. So there's a lot of stuff pulling our attention, a lot more bullshit, fuckery of clown world. But I feel that it wouldn't be getting so dramatic if if we weren't such a threat to their control. And it is absolutely coming down. And it's just holding that conviction that, yeah, maybe nothing's happening, but hey, that could be a good thing. It could be a good thing. It could be a waiting thing. But I subscribe to the whole timeline. You will live the timeline that you choose. And anyone else's beliefs, if you believe everything's going to be awful, 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 then you're going to experience that. So
Yeah.
I'm just kind of and again, it goes back to the self-responsibility of having the mental discipline to turn off the social media or turn off the TV, go touch grass, play the guitar, write some music, paint something beautiful, put on some makeup, put on a sexy outfit, and just for no reason at all other than you're wonderful. That's it. That's all. Yeah. Live, because we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And it's like I'm at a point where I'm okay if I'm like, I feel that I'm extremely blessed with my life and what I've gone through and where I'm at now. So now it's just like bonus time, because I never thought I would make it this long. Kind of, if that sounds, I was a fatalistic kind of youth. There was like, oh, everything's terrible, blah blah. But no, it's a choice. Your vibration is a choice. Your focus is a choice. And to recognize when the powers, the matrix that be, tries to take away your choice of what topics you're allowed to talk about, or what words you're allowed to say, or who you're allowed to criticize. And I've become more outspoken about stuff in real life, and with good results. So I look for the positive in it. And wait for the universe to do, because it's the law. What you think of, what you believe, what you intend to create will be there. And
So just to
waiting is
paraphrase,
the hardest.
you're feeling like you're going into what you're saying is basically we can't really predict what's going on, but it's taking control of our actions and not allowing others to kind of control us. Because that's the choice point, isn't it? Because we've all got choice whether we're aware of it or not. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Nick, what are your
I
thoughts
love
on
what
that?
Nick said about it's carved in clay. It's not in stone. I had some deep thoughts and meditation about fate. Is fate even, you can allow fate. If you believe in fate and, oh, this is the hand I was dealt, and then that's how it is for you. But if I believe that I can change things or choose differently, Kirsten, you talked about Groundhog Day. That is actually something that I've spoken about to clients about, because most people, 90% of every day is Groundhog Day. Do the same thing, drive the same place, have the same conversations. You do the same thing day after day. You go to the same grocery store. You listen to the same radio station. It's like people get stuck on purpose in this simulation. Because unless they have an algorithm feeding them something new, most people will never find anything new in their lives to learn about. Or their ego will be of such, oh, that's too hard, or that's too expensive, or like to rationalize themselves out of trying to learn something new. Like that movie's very annoying, because who wants to watch someone keep fucking things up? by doing the same it's like you're going to get the same thing if you keep doing the same thing and saying the same thing. Like that movie is actually like very true. It's like you have the time. So if you realize you're just living the same day over and over, start making some different choices and doing it consciously, and then you'll escape the Groundhog Day. But they don't want you to, because they feed off it. We're the battery for that false system.
I think the reason that it triggers Kirsten so much is because that's basically, that movie is 2 hours of the history of our spiritual conscious life. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
from where our soul came into third density to now has been Groundhog Day, just less pleasant. And, you know, he did play with it. He was like, hey, since I don't have any consequences, I'll know tomorrow I'll wake up in the same bed. Let's have some fun with it. And finally got down to fixing it. Well, you know, we're kind of at that end of the movie stage. We've torn the town to pieces. We've done the best things. Now we're doing the right things. But actually, the reason I blocked off my deal for a moment was what you said, Kirsten. Yeah, actually, I was making notes. When you think about it, okay, for the last 2 months, I've been doing way more research than I ever wanted to in the nature of Satan, the duality of Lucifer and Ahriman. And you reminded me of that because, you know, Ahriman is never change, be static. Lucifer is pure change and revolution. We need both of those. And the Christ consciousness, allowing us to consciously choose which we do, balances them. And what Karen was saying about just being authentically you is that balance. You're not you know, people get caught in that loop of, I will always listen to the same radio, eat at the same restaurant, take the same route to work, never change, are a manic. And other people are like, well, as we've seen from the No Kings protest, change, revolution, Luciferian. And just being consciously you it pisses both of them off. And you're like, I'm me and I'm not going to change unless I want to change, in which case I will. It's just being you and removing you're removing the focus on the Luciferian revolution at all costs for no other reason than revolution. And the Ahrimanic, I'm good, I got this. You're literally destroying and fighting the system just by being you.
Is that not just because then I love that, because you mentioned like the Ahrimanic kind of stream and then the Luciferian agenda. I'd never thought of the Ahrimanic one as being like the stasis. But I suppose when you look at what they're wanting to bring in, it is a stasis of kind, because it's kind of linked into this transhumanist agenda, which links really nicely into the last point I really wanted to get onto. But just touching back on like the Trinity, it's almost like the physical Holy Trinity. There's like Christ consciousness, there's a Luciferian agenda of, like you said, chaos, and then even the Ahrimanic control system, which is rigid structure, which is the opposite of chaos. But when you condense it into physicality, that's what the Matrix is, isn't it? It's physical rigid structure. Whereas the Luciferian agenda is trying to change that, but still within the structure of the confines of this 3D reality. And the Christ consciousness is coming in saying you need to bridge all this to transcend it, almost.
Because you need that revolution. You need that, I'm going to revolt against this in order to overcome yourself. You need that stability of, I'm not going to change this, because it's like, no, Christ came, God is real, I hold to this. On the other hand, I'm going to rebel against people that were telling me this is how I need to serve. You need that balance. Both, like I was, what's her name? Leighton Elias.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, she's wonderful. It's like, You need that Luciferian energy. You need that Ahrimanic stasis, but you need them balanced. And the Christ is that balance because it's consciousness. It's doing things intentionally. I'm going to intentionally take the weekend off and do nothing because I'm tired and I need it. Other times, I'm going to stay up till 2 a.m. doing research because I need to know this. It's that balance of the two. You're doing it intentionally. And that's where I think, so the matrix programming, you know, everybody makes a big deal about, oh, we're batteries, we're SimBots, we're whatever. The whole point of the matrix is just getting you to abandon your consciousness, to just do, to just blindly revolt, to just blindly obey. Literally, that's all it is just abandoning your consciousness and abandoning your choice. Like everything else subs down to that.
It's the matrix, though. This is the thing. So when you come back to what the matrix actually is, and you say it is, because the whole point, in my opinion, because we're a deviation of God, in my opinion as well, this is all just my opinion, we come down, we're a fractal of God, God is love, and the whole experience is love. And even, you know, Ahriman and Lucifer, whatever you want to say about them, they serve a purpose. They are made by God. They are a purpose of the matrix construct. But when you look at it in a bigger, broader context, what is it actually for? And I propose that it's just a lesson in sovereignty of knowing yourself better. Because when you look at both sides and you go back to that Christ consciousness of the balance and the knowing yourself, like you said, consciousness, it's how can you be sovereign? And there's so many layers to this. And all the books and all the trips and all the things that are coming in now to move you in a different direction, they're all tests and balances. And you go back round and round on the karmic wheel. So the thing is, it does matter. Reality and the choices that we make matter, but also they don't, because you will always come back. And it's knowing that whatever you're doing right now, you are meant to be doing. You've chosen that on some level, and it's serving a purpose. So there's no good or bad, really, when you look at it from a broader perspective. There is, but there isn't. And I think it's taking our minds out of those rigid structures and saying, what is this teaching me? What is the purpose of it? Again, presence. How can I be more present? Because the more present you are, the more conscious you are, the more you can make an informed decision. And that is the big thing that it's coming down to at the moment. How much information are you able to absorb and in a stand, rather than just being an observer of life? Because that's the thing, it's taking control, isn't it? And that's really where you need to be.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah.
I would agree with everything you said there.
So that makes me think about balance. When you say observe, to me, I do believe it's being consciously aware of the balance between when to step back and observe and when to step in and take some real world action. Because I think that's a sticking point for a lot of people is not taking real world action, even little steps. Like I had someone new to the area and signed up for this new class I did on Wednesday. And I asked her, I was like, oh, what interest, have you been here before? It's a township building. Oh no, I've never been here. And she didn't come she came totally by herself. And I was just, that's a huge step to go, to be interested, to learn something and go without anyone else. And she just moved to the area like a year ago. So it's finding that, observing the signposts and saying, okay, I see that. And kind of feeling that nudge. Do I need to go somewhere? Why is my attention pulled to that? Yes. So much of that, because it's both. Like I tell people, everything does matter. But on the other hand, just as true, nothing matters. Nothing's real. Nothing matters. But everything matters and everything's real. Not everyone can hold those competing concepts as truth, but truth shifts based on your consciousness and your experience and where you're at. So
Definitely.
We're always shifting, and it's having that awareness that balance is not 50-50. And that was something that I noticed years ago when the big thing was work-life balance, work-life balance. And everyone assumed that meant 50. Like, no. Sometimes balance, sometimes you need to give like 80% of it to your personal life, your family, your relation, whatever. That needs like 80, 90%. And then the rest of it, 10%. That
Yeah,
might be
yeah.
a particular month or a season. And everything's always shifting. The fulcrum in that balance, sometimes it moves. That seesaw does not always have the fulcrum at the dead center. And having that awareness, because that's a program of that's what balance looks like. It's 50-50.
Well,
Not always. So
well, no, because if you
I
look at
always
the
try
weight,
to.
no. So if you look at the weight, so if you look at a balance point, it's going to change depending on what weight's on one side and the other, doesn't it? And that's the thing. You need to
Mhm.
shift as things change. But going back to what you were saying, I really wanted to agree with you on the truth thing, because truth is subjective and a level of consciousness that you arrive at something from. And depending on where you move, it's a sliding scale, depending on higher or lower. And obviously, I don't agree. One is bigger than the other. But just where you are, like an expanded or contracted point, the truth is going to look slightly different. I don't think there's the whole truth, which you can't perceive unless you completely zoom out. And I think that's kind of the point we were getting to with that. But I think we're going to try and wrap it up, aren't we, Kirsten? Because we're getting towards like the 2-hour mark almost. But before we go, I really want to go around and just get everybody's thoughts on kind of like this transhumanist agenda, seeing as we've gone into like the Aramon. Version of reality. we had a sojourn into that. So Karen, can you give me your thoughts on like what you feel the transhumanist agenda is kind of teaching us, where it's going, and whether it's something that we should actually do?
I feel that, transhumanism, the technology kind of conundrum, I feel, or I understand the Luciferian and Ahriman stuff. If you've ever read, Rudolf Steiner has an amazing book about Archangel Michael, and he talks about Lucifer and Ahriman. To me, the whole impression of transhumanism contains both. That Lucifer is the head, your thought, your consciousness, and the Ahriman is the arms and leg, like the trunk of the body, and then the Christ is the heart, like the center of your body. So transhumanism, separating your head, your choices and thoughts and mind, and your body, your actions, your behavior, your physical impact on the world would also be controlled, whether it's an algorithm or a message or, crypto. So I kind of feel like we've had two adversaries against the light all this time, and sometimes we don't quite know which one's playing which side, but there's clearly, to me, there's like a light and then two different factions of darkness. So is there, and has someone injected an intention of light and using the technology and transhumanism for enlightenment or for healing technologies, for deafness, blindness, paralysis? To me, it's about intention of use. So that's something I still kind of grapple with and kind of flip flop on, because there's days where I'm like, man, I would love to have some bionic eyes, give me some spiritual sight, and like I don't have to be squinting without my glasses all the time. So I don't have a solid thing on it, but I feel that with my clay of constructing the future, it will be for healing the misalignments and distortions done to our DNA and our physical body, that perhaps, the technology itself is not negative, but the transhumanist agenda is negative and controlling.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like when you said about, hey, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's like you don't want everything the same, but you do need change. So there is value to both the Ahriman and Luciferic energies. It's just finding the balance within you. So that's kind of a non-answer on the transhumanist thing, but
Well,
but
You
I
really-
feel that it's going to solve some problems as long as it's not taken to a certain extreme.
Look into the origins of transhumanism. It's very, very satanic. Like that
Okay.
expression of transhumanism specifically was coined by people who wanted to alter humanity out of being human. And
Oh, that's that Yuval Harari. Yeah, yeah.
You're
there's
See, and I'm
transitioning
origins
also
of that.
myself.
from the human
Yeah.
state, aren't you?
Do
And the
what?
human state is good because that's what it means. Transition, isn't it? To transition from being human. You're
The
like
idea
merging.
is that they came up with was we can design. Transhumanist is basically we can design better humans than humans. Yeah, it's the whole idea of we are God and we can make anybody can be whatever they want to be, which sounds good on the surface, much like communism does, right up until you get into the realities of things. And that was a side rabbit that I chased on my research for the upcoming show with Stephen.
Yeah.
Oh, transhumanism is a scary ideology, but the idea of being able to customize your body really isn't. You know, if somebody loses an arm, why shouldn't they be able to have a mechanical one? That's tech that exists. It should be common. You know, if something's wrong with you and you make the choice, you should be able to replace it. But the transhumanist idea also involves that control. So I'm not giving over control of my eyes to an app.
I mean, there was a study done. They brought these like retina lens things in. I can't remember exactly, and I remembered reading about it. So they'd given all these people that had got very limited vision this eye upgrade basically, and it was by a company that was supporting that. And what actually happened was they no longer supported they said they weren't doing any more upgrades. So the people who got the technology in their eye, but there was no more upgrades, so they go blind anyway. So you're putting your life in someone else's hands when you start doing this, unless you've got the facilities and the ability to do it yourselves. And I think that's the problem. I mean, when we get to a point in humanity, if we lose an arm, I think we've forgotten this, but we will be able to just regrow an arm. I mean, that's the point that we're moving towards. When you become so controlled, because I mean, there's yogis that can do this. It's been documented. There's yogi that they've put them on an ultrasound and they've manifested a tumor and then manifested it away on the same ultrasound. So they've got both, and that's possible. I'm not saying it's possible for everybody right now, but I think this is the difference between organic and inorganic timelines. We become so refined as the human technology that we are because we're just good technology, or we go down this transhumanist agenda where we give ourselves away. I mean, if you look at what Asha Nadine talks about, it's almost like they're creating this false universe, and they need the energy. And it's like they want to upload the consciousness to feed this false universe, but it's finite, you know. It's not like when you're tapped into like the good, of course, the good source, you've got unlimited energy because God is unlimited. So do you want to create something that's going to implode? I mean, we all go back to God anyway at the end of the day, so it's not a big deal. But that's something that you experience, which is probably really fucking horrific. Or do you want to go on this ascended timeline where you get to like expand and learn and grow and become like a bigger emanation of yourself, essentially? Kirsten, what your thoughts on that?
I agree with that. I'm sorry, Nick.
No, I was just saying the same thing.
Yeah, our bodies are the technology we need. We've just lost the remembrance of how to use them completely, because the body ultimately at the end of the day is an emanation of God. It's an emanation of God that is designed to experience this world. And so being an emanation of God, certainly you ought to be able to regrow your limbs. You ought to be able to automatically fix your vision. And that's what I see with this transhumanism. It's like that idea that a machine can be better than what God has already created is it's just bullshit. I'm sorry. You know, I actually had this girl, a student of mine years ago, who told me that machines can read minds, but people can't. And I was like, how can a machine that a person created read your mind when you can't read? I was just like, you know, none of this makes sense to me. And of course, she couldn't actually explain how that worked. But I was just like, you know, and I've always thought of the internet and all of these things as just sort of a preparation for the time when we come back to the place where we all do have telepathy and we can all, you know, like instead of getting on StreamYard and talking to people, you can just say, hey, y'all, I was thinking about this. And that comes, and, you know, I'm already feeling that you know, as Sam and I have both been talking about telepathy coming up more and more online. And I really feel that that's where we're going. And the machine stuff, that's a baby step. The technology, we need it now because we're not quite there in our consciousness. But to me, it's a baby step to get us to the next place, which doesn't require this type of technology because we already have it contained within our bodies.
Perfectly put. Perfectly put. Right. So I think we're going to go around with final thoughts, and then I think we're going to close it down because we've been going for a couple of hours nearly. Karen, any final thoughts, and just let us know where to find you.
Oh, find me in the woods by myself. No, I am on Facebook and Twitter currently. Starting the YouTube, I do have a few videos from streams I've done, but I'm finding my peace with that. Technology in me is like, but as Kirsten, you stated that perfectly. It's like baby steps, but I need like a little technological crutch to get the message out. But all I can say, message wise, is speak your truth. Don't be afraid of the reactions of others. When you know in your heart and your being that what you're saying and doing is for the upliftment of all, don't hold back anymore. There's no reason to. What consequences are there to sharing love or, you know, experiences or, you know, sharing like when I said I shared a Bible verse with Nick that day when I was texting him, and it was like, oh yeah, signposts everywhere. What's going on? It's just reinforcement that just like whatever resonates most with you, just let it out and express it, and don't be ashamed about it, because there's a reason why that those words want to be spoken or want to be shared with someone. Because you know the Creator speaks through us and our actions, and to just be okay with where you're at, because it's all in the now. And the time is always now, and the time is always perfect to give yourself some compassion, some grace, take a breath, and realize, you know, this is all really new. I feel that we've been through this many times, but I feel like this time we've broken past whatever point kept looping to the mass destruction. I feel that we are creating a new timeline. So by holding that belief and those actions in all that you do, you are creating the best life for yourself and everyone. And don't let the doomers get you down, because I feel like it's gonna ramp up again. And if it does, that's fine. And just know that there's a lot of us. You know, love and light doesn't mean you're never going to cry, you're never going to scream or rage or curse. And it's okay, because we always come out of those little fits a little bit more peace, a little more grounded, a little more compassion of what we've been through. So as much as some of those dark times suck, we do know by now that they serve a purpose to refining our perception and our awareness and our capacity to forgive and love those who didn't know any better yet. So thank you for having me on and inviting me, because yeah, it's nice to be reminded that there's so many beautiful souls in the world that are on the same journey, but separate paths possibly. But I do believe a lot of us will be converging at some point. And I do believe there are no coincidences. And, you know, we're fulfilling a divine purpose here, and to hold on to that truth no matter what, and let that kind of be your anchor in the storm, that everything's going to be okay.
Beautifully put, Karen. Thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Nick, same question to you. Any final thoughts, and where can we find you, what you're up to, and we can put all your bits in the description?
Well, as always, you can find me on X. My username is the same as my name on here, just with an @ and an underscore. I've just really thoroughly enjoyed it. Y'all are always a breath of fresh air, and I love the wild and free perspectives from all of you. So it was a real pleasure being on. Next thing I have going is on November 5th. Remember that, with BG Cast. Steven's having me on for the second part of my Gods and Countries series, which this one was about 2 solid months of research. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a very interesting overview of all of history, and it's going to be good. I'm not doing any spoilers of stealing his thunder. But
that's cool.
It ties into a lot of what we were talking about with the mechanics of how we ended up in a situation of Aram and Lucifer and no Christ in the worldly system. So I'm generally not the one to be bragging or trumpeting, but this is going to be a banger. So, and anytime y'all feel like getting some wild perspective, I'm always happy to be on. The Metaphysical Phat is a great place, and I would like to see Karen on here more. Hint, hint.
Yeah, we need to get David as well, because and yeah, Don and Diana and Stephen, because we need to get the band back together. I know it's difficult, isn't it? Because we've all got lives, but it's great when we do all make the time, and we do get a chance to kind of cross paths. So thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure, Nick, and I'm sorry we've had to drag you out of bed and force feed you coffee to get you going.
It's nice to just have slept. I'll take the coffee necessity and trade for some actual good sleep.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Kirsten, any final thoughts, my love, before we go?
Yeah. Yes, I just want to say, I read this book by Yogananda first. This was introduced to me first, but we are the second coming of Christ. There's not a dude coming down from the sky that's going to go, oh, here I am. I'm going to fix everything and fix all the politics and all that crap. We are the second coming of Christ. And so really think about what that means to you and embody it. Bring that into your heart space and radiate it out into the world. And like Karen said, it doesn't have to be all love and light and pretty. Radiate you, be you. You are the second coming of Christ. We all are. And I'm so grateful to Karen and Nick for coming on with us today. And yes, we absolutely want to have both of you back many times. So thank you so much, you guys.
Yeah, we'll let you go.
Thank you.
Keep pulling you back.
Yeah.
So thank you. If you could just hang out for a couple of minutes after we've finished. But yeah, thank you ever so much, everybody, for coming today. We'll put all the links and descriptions in the books, and yeah, you know where to find everybody. But for now, we'll catch you on the flip side.